Hey everyone, Will and Eric here from Mature Minded Gamers, and today we're going to be talking to you about Steampunk Rally Fusion from Roxley Games. 2 to 8 players in around 60 minutes. So let's look at the game, see how it works. We'll be right back with our review. So the goal in Steampunk Rally Fusion is to be the inventor that is furthest past the finish line at the end of the final round. Now, the game is broken up into a series of phases. There is the draft phase, the vent phase, the race phase, the damage phase, and the upkeep phase. Now, each of those phases is broken up again into a series of different things. So we're not going to be going over exactly how to play in this video, kind of just giving you a brief overview. So every player is going to pull one card from each of these decks. They're going to select one card to either equip to their ship or their invention. They're going to be able to sell, or they're going to be able to store a stash a boost card. And then what they're going to do is they're going to draft cards. So again, you're going to take one of 4 of the cards here, and you're going to, let's say I'm going to equip a part, and I'm going to equip, let's say this part here, has to connect to one of the vents on the side, and then you're going to pass the cards around the table. Now, on your turn, depending on if you had sold cards, so let's say I had sold this card and I had gotten a couple of dice, let's say, and we're moving on to the race phase. We would roll our dice and we would be able to place these to a certain number of what we would need to be able to cause that invention to kick off. So let's say we had rolled a 6 on this red dice, we can place it on this Centaur rocket. Because we have a 6 here, we would gain a movement. Now, when we gain movement, that's essentially how we're going to move around the track. Now, other things you can do is you can also gain these cogs, and these cogs are going to give you different unlocks in the card, so I would need to be able to spend 6 cogs. Once I complete that, whenever I put a 6 red dice on this Centaur rocket, then it's going to give me an additional movement. Now, players can take damage as they're moving around the different types of terrain. When they do, they're going to use this damage dial. And for every damage during the damage phase, we are going to be having to take off parts. Essentially, they're falling off and getting destroyed. Play is going to proceed like that until all players, or one player at least, has crossed the finish line. And the one furthest along the track is the winner. Now, there is a whole bunch of different racers in this. Right here we have Annie easily set out, for example, but we have Igor, you got Hetty, you got Elsie, you got Esima, you got Andre, Amelia, Alan, you got Marie, you got Parachute, you got Carlton, and a Gauss Picker. Now, each of these do have 2 cards each one, and each of the different inventors are actually quite unique, which is actually really cool. There are a ton of cards that come in this game, and one thing I really like about it is the fact that the game does come with a really nice insert that's going to be able to hold all of your components. It does come with the board is actually also double-sided, which is really nice as well, but everything fits very well inside this box, and just the production value is really well. Now, this game also has this unique mechanic, having these fusion dice, that when you place these dice during the vent phase, these cannot be cooled down. So that's kind of just a brief overview. You're going to be building your invention. You'll be racing around the track, fighting other, battling off other players. Not so much battling, I guess, but more of just trying to shake them down. But the real trick also comes into these boost cards, where you're going to be able to do different effects to other players, like draw 2 silver machine parts and draft one of them. Then if you at least have half of your non-cockpit machine parts are silver, you gain 4 cogs, or excuse me, 4 movement. So that's actually really nice. But again, game is really fun, but let's go back up to Eric and I, and we'll talk to you about what we think. So, component-wise, I thought this game was absolutely killer. The card quality was great. There are tons of them. The dice are really fantastic. Not the small itty-bitty dice, not too tiny, just the perfect size, especially for fitting on the cards and everything. The art was beautiful. The boards were very well laid out. There was we had a little bit of a discussion as far as like what was a path and what wasn't, as far as like the next point and whatever. But for the most part, the rulebook was pretty easy to understand. A lot of iconography. Yep. Right. It got in the way a little bit when we first started learning how to play. But once you kind of got the game down, we stopped referencing the rulebook, I think, about halfway through. Yeah. So a lot of fun in that regard. So component wise, pretty good. So what do you think?
This is a game that I would have just passed by and not have played. Luckily, we talked to Roxley at Gen Con. They hooked us up with a review copy, and I'm so glad they did because the game is fantastic. It's one you don't want to miss. It's got a lot of really neat mechanics, and it's just fun. It's fun to build your ship. It's fun to go on the race. There's even like advanced rules if you really get bored like playing the basic stuff, which I don't even know if you would, right? Because there's just a lot there.
A lot of options. There's a lot of different ways to play this game, which is cool.
Right. Plays up to 8 players, which is a great number. I mean, normally, a lot of games stop at 4 or 6. Mm-hmm. Being able to fit 8 in there is pretty cool. It might be kind of a heavy game then. I don't know. A lot going on with that many players, but...
Sorry. Tickle in my throat.
Dude, sitting right here.
I should start over.
Start over?
Right.
Just edit that out.
In the middle of talking.
We're back. Poor Will there about died on me. So the game is fantastic. It has a lot to offer, and picking this up for $40, well worth it in my opinion. If you like games that are a little bit different, I'd say a little on the heavy side, you think? For a board game like this. Mm-hmm. It definitely was much more complex than I thought it was going to be, but I would definitely highly recommend it.
Yeah, I don't know if this would be one that I would pick up and play with new gamers. I think this would be something that I would definitely play with a little bit more experienced gamers. Definitely had, like you said, some complexity to it. Like you said, had talked about, this was, there is a Steampunk Rally game, the original, and I've heard of it. I've never played that one, and to be honest with you, it's kind of got me excited to want to go back and check this out or the original one out. One of the things you can do with Fusion is you can actually mix the two together and create even a bigger course. So that'd be actually pretty awesome, to be honest with you. So a lot of potential with this, and for the price point, I don't think you should pass it up. It was an absolute blast. Huge thumbs up to Roxley Games because it's killer. It's very good. So, you think if players like, what kind of game do you think they would?
Oh man, I didn't even think about that. So this game has a lot of components that you don't see in most of your board games. I mean, you're building a ship, steampunk style, right? And you have a lot of like dice rolling going on, but you also have to manage your cards. So you only have 4 cards to pick from. So, boy, I don't know. What would you relate it to? So
the biggest part of this game isn't so much the race; it's more about the engine building. So I'm not saying if you're a race fan, this would be right up your alley because it's really not that. I think, honestly, if you are a fan of Scythe and you like the aspect of building the engine and getting things going and getting resources and manipulating things and then even doing things to affect your opponent's ship, I think you would dig this game. I really do. The engine building is top-notch. It was a little, like we said before, it's a little complex as far as like to get into the iconography, but just like Scythe, once you get it, and it was a lot of fun. And the larger player counts at a fast-paced game, I mean, even at, it's a 60-minute game, 8 players, it's still going to be a 60-minute game because you're doing your turns simultaneously, and it works well with more player count too. So.
And if you're all new players, it's going to obviously take longer. You got to learn, but once everybody knows what they're doing, you actually do your phases at the same time. And so, other than the card trading, right? I mean, that happens at the same time, but you're kind of waiting on other people. But when you're actually doing the rest of it, you're supposed to technically be playing all at the same time. So it would make it go a lot faster.
Right. I think the first couple times we were playing this, I did mine, kind of talked through what I was doing. Eric did his, talked through what he was doing, just because we were wanting to know exactly what the actual mechanics were and how things were working, what the different cards were, so learning as much as possible. But after your first 4 or 5 games, you're just smooth sailing. So. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us today for a review for the Steampunk Rally Fusion from Roxley Games. And we do a bunch of other kind of content on MatureMindedGamers.com. We do video games, board games, and so much more. So please hit that like and subscribe button. So until next time, everyone stay safe and take care.
Game on, everybody.